Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Benita, for leading us into exactly what the whole point of today's talk would be. So I'm not going to do much about the integrative aspect today, just because I think I'm quite behind on some of your questions from the past. So first, since we started with Benita, so let's kind of look into do a deep dive in the delta. So first, let me just share my screen real quick. And so this is the CDC take on the situation. One thing you all need to be aware of, there's a new classification of variant, what's called a V, variants of concerns, or VOCs. So this term. So we're going to keep seeing these letters like gamma, delta, alpha, etc. But the actual formal scientific terms for them are this ones, like B1. So there's a letter, and then there's this numeric code. So, you know, you may want to kind of have a link like this somewhere handy in case you need to look something up. It should be pretty quick. This is very outdated information, despite stating here that it's July 20th, because you will see that down here they say that the delta is not a variant of concern. To date, no variants of high consequences have been identified. That's wrong. Delta at this point is a high consequence. I mean, they're still calling it just a variant of concern. The problem is, though, that it clearly is not a 90% effectiveness, the vaccines. We have heard this several times, and then I told you guys, I think 2 weeks ago, that I have seen a data by one small clinical trial that was controlled, showing that it's about 60% efficacious, 65 for both Pfizer and Moderna. And I think that's the right numbers. 90% should mean we shouldn't see anybody getting sick after vaccinations. I've already had 6 patients got sick. 6 people, sorry, not patients. Only 2 of them are my patients, but there's a person, also a friend in Boston. We just heard from one of our colleagues, Dr. Sarah's one of her friends got sick. So there's definitely going around. So Benita, if this is positive COVID, don't be surprised at all. Can you tell us what you got in terms of which shot, Benita?
Which shot? Yeah, I got Moderna.
Okay. Yeah, so, you know, the Moderna and Pfizer, in terms of their efficacy against Delta, is probably going to be roughly the same, and not 90%. I even though that's the data, or that's the number that keeps on being quoted, but I don't think that's correct. So other things about the Delta, it's about 60% more virulent, so more infectious, and it's about 60 to 70% more, more contagious, but also more virulent. So both at about 60 to 70%, meaning that the disease in unvaccinated people is more severe. It's also a shorter incubation period. So if you've been exposed, you're not going to kind of go around there for a week, 10 days before you're going to start getting symptoms. They may be as fast as 3 to 5 days. That typically means that whenever the incubation period is shorter, it could mean one of 2 things: either that there's just a new mutation, and so hence or it's just much more virulent, so it progresses faster once you get infected. So regardless, it doesn't really matter. The point is, don't assume that because the incubation time is period, it's going to be easier to identify. It's actually going to be harder to identify. So the tracking of positive cases will be harder to do, because there's going to be less time to report after someone known had an exposure. So the tracking situation here is going to be more complicated. So far, we seem to be reasonably okay in our area here. So there's not a lot of cases. I have not heard updates from the hospital, so I can't comment on exactly what's going on. I will try to get data for next Friday on that, just to give people sense of how bad is the actual rates of hospitalizations. But we, in general, this area has been accepting vaccines more than an average. So let me pause this and ask if people have questions on the variants. By the way, I don't know if you when I was sharing the screen, let me share it again and go back to this. I don't know if you guys have seen that there are other variants, and then there's now 6 variants of concern. So in addition to this 4, there are also this possible new variants that are called, like there's different names, I think, Zeta, for example. So are they going to manifest? Who knows? Bottom line, for now, it seems like the biggest one is a Delta. That's already over 80% of all the cases in states. CDC is behind on lots of things in terms of reporting, which is not surprising. All right. So questions on the variants. Okay, so treatment at home. I don't think the treatment is going to be any different. So the treatment is going to be the same we talked about. In terms of medications, there's nothing. In terms of whether or not to get the antibody early in a disease by going to the hospital or some other outpatient facility and get those infusions, I'm not a huge fan of this. I think the data is at least at best borderline. I completely in disagreement with the data on ivermectin and Effexor. I reread this multiple times. I think that if there's some benefit, it's very questionable. And frankly, it's probably in many ways overkill. And I'm guessing that the true benefit is placebo, to be honest with you, because we know that in diseases like this, where immune function is critical, placebo effect is huge. And so we're probably having a hype spin, just like it was spent by the hydroxychloroquine. So once there will be a true double-blind randomized study, we'll see the disappearance of that effect. I have no doubt in it. Just by the fact that I can't quite fathom what the mechanism of action that could make sense here. And if anybody have any thoughts on that, please, by all means. So the treatment would be the same we talked about. Lots of supportive things we already have discussed here: N-acetylcysteine, quercetin, some vitamin C, some zinc, hydrate very well. You know, if you have symptoms like fever, nausea, whatever, manage those symptoms to the best you can, and time. So those are the mainstream treatments. Okay. Donna posted something. I'm going to try to look at that. Okay, so yeah, so of course it could all be just a cold, right? I mean, colds are out there, so definitely could be just a cold. You know, the part of the problem is, remember, we all been in lockdown for all this time. We're finally coming out of this, but amount of stress is still huge. So combine that. Let me just mute Salome. Combine that together with, you know, with sort of crazy fluctuations of heat and temperature. It wouldn't be surprising that it's just a bad cold that in the past would have been pretty mild in the summer. So Benita, I'm crossing fingers that's all there is, you know, because there's definitely going to be less consequences for you. Yeah, and I think, yeah, that's a great article. Thanks, Donna, for posting it. Everybody should, there's a link in the chat if anybody's interested in taking a look at it. Okay, and I have a second topic. We're already 17 minutes and I don't want us to shorten. So let me keep doing questions for a couple more minutes and then I'll go to the second topic. Okay, anything special about Delta in young children, infants? You know, Jennifer, I haven't heard that. It's a great question. It's probably a really important question, especially since now we have vaccine for 12 to 16-year-olds. Let me try to address this by the next topic, because next topic is comparing vaccines again, since this was requested last week. I don't remember by whom, but so I'm going to try to fold attempt at answering that there. Sudafed, lots of fluid, ended the running nose for me. Sure, great. Okay, I go out to stores in the wider suburbs and malls and see no masks. Yeah, that's a huge part of a problem. Like, we've talked about this, I think, was it last week that I mentioned this? We can't get relaxed. We have to put the masks back on. You know, you go into a small environment where you know everybody, even if you don't know one or two people, okay, I mean, take a risk if you will, but you go into a supermarket, you go into a large crowded outdoor area where you just a couple of feet from, come on, put the mask on. I mean, it's not so hard to do. So it almost feels like we're and it's understandable why it's happening, right? I mean, people just fed up and they want to have life, and you do what you can. We have went out first time in a long time, my wife and I, and we sat outside with our dog, but it still was pretty proximal. I mean, obviously when you eat your dinner, you're not going to be wearing a mask. So yeah, I think we will be taking some risks more than before, but I think we should try to do what we can. So okay, Ken 95. Yeah, I wouldn't worry about. I actually think that there's no reason to suspect at all that some of this variance somehow gonna, bypass some of the standard precautions. So it should be the same whether it's a regular prior variant or K95 in terms of masks. Sure, where you can KN95. K95, those of you guys remember, it's the intermediate variant between the regular surgical mask and true N95, right? It's one of those that look kind of triangular almost. They're better. They're in between. They're definitely better than surgical masks. They have a lot better feet, but they're not designed to be really protective against low level of exposure. So if you're in a hospital, you wouldn't wear those, but they're definitely better than the surgical ones. All right, CDC mask wearing confused. Yeah, you guys, you hear me being frustrated with them all the time. So I just honestly, I stopped following their regs. I mean, I keep an eye on this, but at this point, I feel like they're constantly behind on everything. And I was hoping it's going to change with new administration. It didn't change whatsoever. So I think the issue is understaffing and simply incapacity to move things that always have heavy political input quickly enough. So they're always 2 steps behind. And it's like, yeah, they'll make up another correct recommendations 4 weeks from now. At that point, we're like, well, thanks, but where were you for a week? So it doesn't help us at the moment, which, yeah, double masking. No, I don't. I mean, the benefit of double masking is when you don't have N95 or KN95 is and if you're really concerned about place. The issue is, you go into a supermarket, chances are you're going to be in a pretty open space. So I rather you don't get close to people and wear a regular mask. There are 2 problems with double masking. A, don't assume it's going to be much more effective. You have to be wear very appropriately for them to be more effective. Second, you're going to have a lot of difficulty with breath, because you're going to be putting 2 different layers. God forbid you need to speed up and suddenly you're going to get dizzy, especially in this heat. You have to be really, really, really careful. So I don't think it's going to add enough protection to justify that. That's my opinion. But if you're going into the area where you're really scared and you don't have N95, go ahead and do that. That's how I would take it. Let's say you have to be in a small enclosed space with somebody you don't know for a prolonged period of time, like you're getting on a train and it's pretty crowded. I would wear a N95. Like when I go on a plane, before I relaxed, in the beginning, I was wearing N95. First time I flew. I think I flew 3 times now. So the second time I wear the surgical mask. Third time too. Now if I fly in the future in the next few months, I'll be wearing N95 again. No questions asked. I don't want to take a risk. And it's not just because I don't believe them filtering the air. No, I do believe that they're fine. But when you're on a tarmac and the engine's off, they're not filtering the air. So there are moments where you're in an if you're in an enclosed space where air cannot circulate enough and you're sitting there, tarmac sitting can be a couple of minutes or it can be half an hour, or if you're very unlucky, longer. So, yeah. Okay. PSA masks are required on metros, but yeah, I agree. Well, there's also look at the criteria. Like a lot of places require masks, and here's, by the way, I think it's appropriate to be a good citizen. And if you're seeing a person not wearing a mask in a place where it's required, you should say, just FYI, this place requires a mask. And you don't have to be emotional about it, but I think if we all kind of it'll create the sort of consciousness shift, because everybody stops wearing and get more relaxed. It creates the sort of cascade effect. So if we anticipate it, I think we may have. I think it'll also gonna make us feel good if we try to do that. Just be careful if they start yelling and screaming at you or trying to hit you, run away. Don't resist crazy people. No point. Okay, so the second point before I forgot. So the Novavax vaccine, I did some research. First of all, it's an older technology. It's an adjuvant vaccine, so it's a carrier attached. They are expressing protein, which is quite different. It's not a DNA or mRNA, so it's a pretty unique vaccine. And by what I see, it actually looks like a best vaccine we have. It's kind of the best of both worlds. It's an old style vaccine, which has been tested. This technology has been around forever. And it's 96%. Well, it was 96 in the first trial, 90 in the second, somewhere between 90 to 96% efficacious. And that includes, here's a critical part, it includes the new variants, because it's a later vaccine. I don't know about the gamma, but definitely included beta, the one strain of concern that was before they didn't materialize, but it has a better coverage against that one than both Moderna and Pfizer. But the bigger issue, it's not even that. The bigger issue, it seems to be the least side effect prone vaccine. The severe fatigue post-vaccine after second shot was less than 50%, and all side effects were like 30% less compared to Pfizer and Moderna. Moreover, there hasn't been any serious side effects reported yet. Versus Moderna and Pfizer, the big concern, as you all have heard, especially in kids, is this inflammation in the heart. And now the cases are in thousands. So, nobody died, but you should think twice. Yeah, once the Novavax becomes available, it's probably going to become quickly my choice. Also, is an important point. If we're going to start having boosters, I probably personally will not accept Pfizer or Moderna. I will probably accept only Novavax. And the reason is because there will be a choice. In the first one, we didn't have a choice. We're sort of like, oh, whatever's available, just get it. So now, a month or 2 months, probably not going to make a huge difference. And if we have a choice, I personally, by the way I do the literature read, most likely will go with a Novavax, unless something changes in upcoming months. And of course, we'll keep you all up. Novavax is the name. Hold on, let me put it. It's a company, I think, also called Novavax. It's our local company. They're in Maryland. I think it's like that. And let me see if I can Google the name of the website for everybody to look it up. Yeah, I think it's just novavax.com. That's the name of the company itself also. So I'll put that in there too. Yeah, so I don't exactly know what's going on. My understanding that they already gotten EUA, but for some reason, or maybe they're getting it and they're almost approved, but they're basically ready to sell. They have enough supply. I don't understand why there is a holdup. It's not really clear to me what's what. Their data has been published in the major journals, so statistics and everything, safety and everything is. They're a small company, and they decided to not partner with a large company like what German biotech company did with Pfizer. That's the Pfizer vaccine, which is not really Pfizer vaccine. They just helped them to run the trial. Novavax didn't do that. No, I thought that they filed. Really?
Yeah,
Let me clarify this. I have a really correct, I have a friend who is, all right, before the end of the meeting, we'll get a clear answer on this. So, okay, let's see. Yeah, so they are testing it, but I'm sure that it's a month out before it will. Oh, under 11? I don't know. I don't think so. I think under 11, they're just trying to test now for the other vaccines. That's going to take even longer. I'm not sure that that's in cards anytime soon. Okay. No, Linda, you're completely confused. The Novavax have nothing to do with Baltimore contamination. That's AstraZeneca. Oh, sorry, that's the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. It's completely different vaccines. They have nothing to do with each other. Different makers, different technique, different technology, different everything. So no, Novavax is a small company based in Maryland, and they have no problem. They haven't had any problems with manufacturing any of their doses. There's no contaminations. Okay. And Dana, I thought that they applied for they filed it, but they got stuck on something. But that's what I'm about to clarify.
Pretty sure they've said most recently they're not filing till the third quarter. They keep delaying it and pushing it back, and I'm following it closely because I had an anaphylactic reaction to the Pfizer, so my doctor wants me to get Novavax.
Novavax. So you probably know. Okay, well let me double check that. Okay. Where would one? Well, so Patricia, nobody can get Novavax just yet. The issue was brought up because it's a new vaccine that should be available soon because they are literally ready to put it out. The question is, in how many weeks will it take before we're going to get it? Once it's out there, I'm assuming the process will be the same. Novavax, by the way, is the easiest one to store. It's the most stable out of all the existing vaccines. It's more stable than even Johnson & Johnson. So it'll just be stored in a regular fridge. Oh, the other big change, Pfizer vaccines are now stored at the regular freezers. So there's going to be a lot more ease in delivering because in the past it had to be stored in a deep freezer. So they just modified something inside the, well, Donna, you may want to find out because maybe they changed a polymer. It may be reasonably important for you. Maybe they removed something that you were allergic to, although I'm guessing your endocrinologist would say, hell no. And I'm probably right. Just don't take any risks. Yeah, I'm sure Novavax is going to contain preservatives, but once it's out, thanks. We'll look it up. I'll look it up as to exactly what preservative I haven't done that yet. All right. Well, we're at 2:30. I think maybe if you have a last moment question, table it for until after, and otherwise I'll pass it to our own Donna, who's been with us so many times, and it's so wonderful to have her. And I'm looking forward after all this stuff, and I'm like this now. And after all this, good questions that I know the answers to, so I'm looking forward to.
Thanks, Doctor.
Drop down into the body and relax.
And how did you know? That's what I have in mind. Perfect segue. So yes, I think we all need to take some breaths after thinking about and talking about the Delta variant. And so I thought today we've had sort of a theme going in July. We had Tati with the art therapy, and then we had Mara with the beautiful meditation last week. And in both of those instances, they were trying to get us to sort of relax the thinking mind and let us drop into the non-thinking mind to help us envision a better future for ourselves, to leave problems behind. And so I thought I would take a page from their books today, and we'll begin with a breath practice to help you relax and be more present in this moment and leave all your worries behind. And then I'm going to combine it with a visualization that I actually can use as an integrative health coach to help clients envision their most healthy life, their optimal health, and their best life. And then at the end, as we've done the last 2 weeks, I'd ask if you'd like to have a piece of paper and pencil or crayons or markers or a pen, whatever utensil you'd like, to either quickly sketch what you recall that was important or that struck you from the visualization, or a few words that will help remind you of what you imagined as we walked through this process. And just one last word on that. As part of integrative health coaching, people come because they want to get healthy, and they usually are coming because of their blood sugar or their high cholesterol or some other health ailment, or they want to lose weight, or they want to exercise more. But our health is more encompassing than that. It also includes where we live, what our environment looks like, our relationships, our professional development, our work life, our spirituality. It's a whole person approach. So I encourage you, when we're going through this visualization of what your best life looks like, to just let the mind go, let your imagination have at it, and really, really get into what that life is going to look like when we get there. So once you have your supplies ready, I encourage you to bring yourself present, sitting up tall in your seat, and not over-efforting, feeling both feet grounded on the floor. I invite you to close your eyes if you're comfortable, or just soften your gaze. And begin by bringing your awareness to your breath, just noticing the quality of your breath in this moment. Is it smooth or choppy, shallow or deep? Are you breathing fast or slowly? Not trying to manipulate it or shape it just yet, just noticing. And then we'll do a brief scan of your body, bringing your attention to your face. See if you feel any tension between the brows, the cheeks, the jaw. Use your breath, your exhalation, to release and let go. And you might find that slightly parting your lips will help relax the jaw, the cheeks, the tongue. Just let your face soften. And then bringing your attention to the neck and shoulders, the tops of the shoulders particularly. And notice, are they hunched up close to the ears? And if so, let them relax and drop down. Let any tension melt from the tops of the shoulders, down your arms, into your hands, and out through the fingers. Always using your exhale to release and let go. Keep softening the face, the shoulders. Bring that softness and relaxation into the chest and the belly. Creating more space. So it will allow you to take deeper, slower breaths as you inhale. And letting go as you exhale. We'll do a brief yogic breathing practice, even breath, or Samavriti it's called in Sanskrit. And if you care to follow along, on the next inhalation, softening so that you begin to inhale slowly, the belly expands, then the chest lifts. And exhaling, the opposite occurs. The navel comes closer to the spine, the chest releases. You empty out. And then we'll add a slow count to 5. So inhaling to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. emptying out completely, and then allowing the breath to come in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And slowly exhaling. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Continue for 1 or 2 more rounds, slowly counting to 5 on the inhale, and down from 5 to 1 on the exhale. And when you've completed that cycle of breath, return to your natural breath, rhythm of breath, and continue breathing easily and effortlessly, becoming more relaxed with each breath. Letting go of any outside disturbances, sounds you may be hearing. And just allow yourself to go deeper inside, leaving any noise or stress from the outside world behind as you journey into the quiet and peace of your own inner world. And as you sink deeper and deeper into quiet and ease, imagine your feet firmly planted in the ground, like a tree with roots extending into the earth. Take a moment to feel the roots and know that no matter where you go on this journey, you are solidly connected and grounded. From this place of relaxation and comfort, imagine yourself in a natural setting, outside somewhere in nature, and spotting a path just ahead, walking towards it and beginning to follow the path. And as you're walking slowly on this path, take some time to notice your surroundings. What time of year is it? What details do you notice? What's the temperature of the air on your skin? Feel free in your imagination to warm up the air or cool it, depending on what you like or need in this moment. And as you continue to walk along this path, continue to notice colors, shapes, textures, all the objects around you. Bring into your awareness any sounds you may hear on the path. Is it mostly quiet? You only hear the sounds of your own footsteps? Or perhaps you hear sounds in the environment around you. As you continue to walk, remaining aware of what you see and feel and hear, notice the feeling of the path beneath your feet as each foot hits the ground. And if you like, take a moment to pause, maybe even sitting down on a stone or a rock or a bench that you spot along the path. Staying present and taking in the surroundings through all your senses. And when you're ready, continue walking on the path. And soon you'll notice a beautiful gate just ahead. Next to the gate is a big wicker basket. When you get there, feel free to leave anything in this basket that is not serving you. Any troubles or concerns, feel free to deposit them in the basket. Just let it all go. Then when you're ready, unlatch the gate and step through the threshold into a place that is 2 or 3 years in the future. This place looks different from where you just came, and yet it feels familiar. Continue walking along the path on the other side of the gate until you encounter the dwelling of your future self, where you envision living in 2 or 3 years from now. Soak in the environment around you, noticing colors and textures, sounds and smells. And see your future self waiting for you. What does it feel like to be with your future self, who's living a life of optimal health and state of well-being? After your future self greets you and invites you to sit down, it's your opportunity to ask a question or two. Ask anything that feels right to you. Perhaps you may want to ask, what do I need to do to move forward? How do I achieve this well-being and optimal health? Whatever question feels right to you, take a moment and pose the question and listen to the answer. Before you leave, take another moment to look around and take it all in, what you see and hear, how you feel in this space 2 to 3 years in the future, living your best optimal life. And give thanks to your future self for the wisdom shared with you, and begin to take your leave. And find your way back to the path, walking back towards the gate. Take a deep breath and step back onto the other side, back to the present, the environment that you envisioned in your mind's eye when we first began. Keep walking back along this path, connecting with your breath. Feeling a sense of ease and relaxation. In a moment, I will count from 3 to 1. When we get to 1, you'll feel refreshed and alert as if you just had a nice rest, knowing you can remember everything that you'd like of this inner journey. 3, begin to come back where you are to the present time in the room where you're seated. 2, begin to stretch in any way that feels good to your body. 'Feel the ground beneath you and be aware of your breath and sense of ease. 1, feeling refreshed and alert. I invite you to open your eyes. Remain silent and present. And when you're ready, take your paper and pen or pencil or markers or crayons, and if you like, take a moment to either sketch a piece of the vision from this inner journey or jot down a few words or phrases that will help you to recall it. If anyone feels moved to share in the chat, feel free. And one of the reasons why we start with the vision in the coaching process, because it's important to use your imagination to help you motivate to achieve that best life. And so I'm going to pose a few questions to you that you might like to jot down the answers to, or put in the chat if you prefer. What inspires you about the vision of your best life? What choices or behaviors might you need to let go of? Those that you currently engage in to achieve this vision. What key behaviors or choices will support you in reaching this optimal state of health and well-being that you've just envisioned? And then finally, what strikes you as most important to remember as you move ahead towards this future that you just visited in your imagination? So thanks for sharing, Jennifer. You mentioned letting go of anxiety and maintaining connections with people, taking time outside no matter what the weather. Important things that inspired her, and to remember as she moves ahead into the future she envisioned today. And so for those of you who took notes or drew a sketch, those are nice things to come back to as you decide to embark on any future behavioral changes to reach that beautiful future. Centering practices that keep you grounded no matter what is going on. Great note from Dr. Kogan. And so I hope that short practice of relaxation and visualization brought you a little sense of peace and might help motivate you to move towards that future self. I wish you a wonderful weekend and good health always. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna, so much. I think my friend did respond to me, so I'm just going to comment that you're absolutely right. They haven't applied yet, and it's not really clear when they will apply. So that's that. But I think we should hold the questions and enjoy this internal peace that we've achieved after practice. If you have questions for next week, hold them, or better yet, email them to us ahead of time. I think that in the past actually worked better because it gives me time to prepare. Who's doing the next Friday? Jennifer, Janet?
Allie Cohen and Sage Rain Dancer.
I knew I had to ask that. That's why. So Allie Cohen is a kind of a world-renowned expert on how to avoid toxins from environment. So I think it's a really important topic. Spread the word. Have people join. And in contrast to my yapping about stuff you already know, she's going to talk about stuff you probably don't know. So highly encourage you all to come. And you're, of course,
And
no,
wait a minute, Misha, before they leave, let's share a link to the podcast we did with her.
Oh, great point. Thanks, Janet. And what can be the better mix of person who's going to talk about how to avoid toxin and person who's actually going to put us in the natural settings and have us do the healing purification practices, energetically speaking, or if you go outside, even better. All right, so, and the link is in there.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. See you all next week. Bye.
Happy weekend, everyone.